So they've sent this thing already, and it has the ability to check to the molecules.
Yeah, the engineering of this thing is absolutely crazy. The way I watched a video on last night, way over my head, but like the proper engineering that's gone into this, it's so fucking wild to me, man. Like us humans are such insanely genius like apes, man. It's crazy what we do with science and technology. It's insane. So this thing can basically like dip in, collect this water, and then like for like ionizing, it can find out what exact chemical compounds are in that water. So it can split CO2, hydrogen, and it can find basically life, or at least all the ingredients for life. Would be able to tell basically pretty shortly if there's life in our solar system elsewhere besides Earth. And I think that's absolutely sick.
That is pretty cool. I think that is cool. I don't know if I care that much though anymore. I'm sort of like, if we find like molecule life, I'm like, all right.
Well, that's the thing, right? What this probe can find out is if there's life in there. It won't tell you if it's only single cellular or not. We can't tell that.
Yeah.
But let's imagine you have a stable environment underneath this ice, and you've had it for billions of years. There could be anything in there. There could be any kind of life form in that water. Think about how wild our oceans have been over the last hundreds of millions of years. All the different type of species that have existed, from megalodons to like freaking crabs to octopus. All these things you can think of could be this own moon's version of these life forms in that water.
It would be cool to know if it was like, I don't know, like creatures like on a different planet. Do you think they would like take a humanistic like looking form, or do you think they would just be some random fucking shit?
I think life evolves to fill a niche. So all of our physiological structures, that's why every animal that you see, if you know what habitat it comes from, you can almost see how it's evolved to take over that habitat. That's niche filling, basically. That's how we evolve. So whatever the niche is for here, I don't think they'll have eyes they can see, because it would be pitch black in there. I can't imagine it being a light source. But I have no idea. I think the scariest thing is, I don't think there's any limits on how big life could get in that water source, because it's just got so much water. It's way more water than Earth has. There's no land mass.
Is this moon bigger than ours?
It's roughly the size of our moon, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's roughly the size of our moon. But it's all water. There's no land mass, and it's deeper water the whole way through. So there's more liquid water on this moon, I think, than Earth.
Yeah, but don't they say that if things get too big and there's not enough things for that big thing to eat, they sort of just don't get that big anymore?
There's like a limit to how big something can get. And yeah, that is true. That's why like the top predator has to have like imbalance with the rest of nature. But I have no idea how big things could be here. They could be as big as megalodons and other things. Have you seen the prehistoric age and how big they think something's got? You can put up right now like how big prehistoric sharks were compared to our current sharks. It is insane.
I've seen that, but like they were that big, so then they must have had something big enough to feed on, right?
Yeah.
At the time. So then I assume that the things that they were eating, there was just none of it anymore, right?
Well, the idea is that we had a calamity. We had a meteoric strike here, and I think that depleted like the oxygen in the water and stuff like that. There's all these sort of things that I think happened. There was mass extinction events. All our megafauna died roughly 10 to 20,000 years ago, just about. And they think it was the Younger Dryas impact. I don't know if you've heard Graham Hancock talk about it.
I hear about it all the time.
Yeah, because it's about the deoxygenization of the waters and the rest of that, and that killed all the bigger things, and that's why we have like pushy tiny little sharks now instead of like the big ones we used to have. Like you add more oxygen, more carbon to the water, things get bigger, and yeah, I mean you could bring that back out again with enough time and the right conditions. And I have just no idea what conditions there might be underneath this ice.
Do you think that the world would just be fucked if megalodons were still around? Like it'd just be wild, right?
What if dinosaurs were still around, man?
Yeah.
How crazy would that be? Like, what, you want to go for a hike? Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, imagine running into like velociraptors or some shit on a hike. That would just be absolutely heinous.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about the old stories, like about dragons and stuff like that. The idea is that maybe there was something that we haven't found the remains of yet. We think that these dinosaur remains. What if dragons were around? What if they say dinosaurs were still around, and you had some that like particularly like the taste of human meat? Imagine being a knight, thinking it's your role, your duty to go and try and kill that dragon or that dinosaur. That'd be freaking madness. Imagine getting a few of your boys together. You're like, all right. Nah, this T-Rex has just been terrorizing this town, man. We need to take him out. You got your fucking armor and your swords and shit, and you're like, let's take him on. You got this fucking 4-story tall freaking reptile thing that eats people.
Yeah, like, do they...
Madness.
Is there, like, sort of like timeline where dragons actually came from? Like, where that sort of story came from?
Man, that could be its own episode. I think there's, like, up until like this is 1800s in the encyclopedia. There was a different definition for. There was no definition for dinosaurs. I think up until 1800s, I think they were just referred to as dragons. Whenever they found like the bones and the remains, I think that they would just classify them as dragon remains. You can find it on Webster's dictionary when the word dinosaur became a thing. I don't think it was too long ago. I think it's like the 1800s or something like that. Yeah, have a look at that. I've seen someone do a video on this. But the crazy thing about this moon for me as well is like, imagine for a second that like intelligent life evolves here.